of civil practice of projects in different towns of Russia. Some of you sent me your topics, but come back to me again. And I want to understand how many of you are going to speak. This is our expert, young and beautiful, Magdalena Przeor. We have got acquainted in 2010, and Magda is a graduate of our school. We invite not only Russian participants, but people from other countries, and Magdalena came to us from Poland. At that time, she represented Foundation for Education and Democracy. Now it's a partnership program with this foundation. She's an expert now, and she also worked with us as an interpreter. Of course, she talked a lot to us about Poland, unrelated to the program. And she also mentioned her projects with teachers. In 2010, well, it was attractive, unusual, but it was far from our streamline. We didn't initiate the project for teachers, but now the topic has become more vital, and we made our arrangements in summertime, so Magda is with us. Thank you very much, Nastya, for what you have said about myself. Today, I want to talk to you about democratization of curriculum through free experiments. And I want to tell you about the projects which I coordinate. That's natural and interesting lesson. I want to show to you what scientific experiments have in common with democracy, with development of civil values, which constituted our agenda here. And how to coordinate such a project. In the first part, I will try to briefly tell you about the history, goals, and project activity. In the second part, I will explain to you what we mean by free experiments and how it influences all the school environments, both pupils and teachers. And in the third part, I will try to show the potential use of participation in such events. An interesting lesson is a mutual project of Polish Foundation, Partners Polsha, and Copernic Science Center. This is Partners Polsha, that's NGO. And the point is to promote democratic process of taking decisions, peaceful resolution of conflicts, development of civil societies in Poland and abroad, popularization of science as factors of public development. Copernic Center is a cultural enterprise, that's scientific center, and it provides interactive exhibition about precise science. They have all sorts of events for teachers, for young people, and for parents. As to implementation of the program, natural, interesting lesson, it is implemented in Georgia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan. We started in Georgia, but those were first attempts, and after 2010 the project has been continued. The chief part now is in Georgia with Georgian teachers. because these teachers are interested in cooperation and they are quite open. Money comes from Polish American Foundation, RITA. There were studies, which partners Polska conducted among Georgian teachers, mostly from village territories, about their chief problems in the school life and in school development. So they talked about limited access to teachers from small towns, to master classes, courses, advanced training, and they also missed practice, active methods of dealing with students. It's mostly theory, and they also mentioned a lack of materials or additional materials, lack of visuals, and lack of financing is definitely there, which is typical for any country. Schools are underfinanced as institutions and as teachers work. So the chances to enter the university for small town graduates are smaller than for young people who live in cities. So the results of the exam, were responsible for your entrance to the university, and it also related to your stipend. So the scope of inequality only increased between young people in towns and in villages. Our proposal was to develop a universal mechanism of cooperation and support of teachers and access of teachers to good master classes and courses of advanced training, teaching or training visits to have an exchange between teachers, methodologies, materials, and inspiration to work under difficult conditions. We wanted to show to them something new, intriguing and attractive, but on the other hand, something cheap and free and implementable under any conditions. We work with teachers in the following way. We choose the most active teachers and invite them to Poland. They participate in master classes. And the same is true about Copernic Center. And then they pass their knowledge in their own environment to their local colleagues. Now there are so many conferences and seminars. That's a normal form of working with teachers. So what's so new about it? How we support our teachers. We modernize the process of education, and we use Polish experience of organizing net of young innovators. Janusz Alewski invented this 12 years ago in 2002. He was then a member of Klotz partnership related to education. It was NGO that traveled throughout the southwest of Poland and discussed their methodology. The project grew up and it turned into a program coordinated by the Copernic Center, and it was in 2009. So what these clubs are about? they operate on a regular basis, 1 or 2 times a month, sometimes 3 times a month. You hold experiments which cover different areas: physics, biology, mathematics, geography, anthropology, psychology, and everything else that surrounds you. The thing is that it's not only at schools. Clubs operate in kindergarten, preschool age, at schools, also in libraries, in the cultural centers, and in congregations. We have nuns and priests who also work with children. Such clubs are about 300 in Poland, and those abroad are about 25. About 15 or 20 participants in each club and curator. So, what is the idea of building up such a club? What is the chief idea of working in such a club? Confucius said, "Tell me, I forget. Show me, I'll remember. Give it to me to do it myself, and I will understand." This is the principle of holding lessons through experiments, through simple scientific experiments. We develop and give lessons and give learning. What is free experimenting? Let us imagine the following situation. This is kindergarten, and that's school graduation level. Well, imagine you work in the space agency, and your task is to send spacemen to Mars. And you are a group of specialists, and you have to build a spaceship for spacemen to go to Mars. You work in small groups of specialists, 4-6 persons, and each group operates under similar conditions. One spaceman, which is an egg here, plastic glass, 2 balls, or 2 balloons, several sticks for nails, and scissors. So you have to build a spaceship with a spaceman inside.
On those pictures you can see how it looks like, and there is a countdown on the space pad, and we launch cosmonauts one by one, and it's the spaceman who survives the takeoff and landing, and who jumps on Mars from the highest level. That's the cosmonaut who will win. Then we will check the state of that cosmonaut, if he is alive or not, and then we'll make our evaluation. You may ask, why am I telling you all those things, and what does it have in common with democratization? You know, experiment through the eyes of a member of the club is something that has to do with taking a decision. Besides, it's teamwork, it's team decision, and it means that all opinions in the team are to be coordinated, responsibilities are to be distributed, and everybody has to assume that responsibility. Emotions are also part of the work. On those pictures you can see that even adults have a lot of emotions, but that is far from being all. Here is a list of actions which the activity is composed of when the club is experimenting. First, we assess the situation. We have some task, we have resources to resolve the task. We identify the hypothesis. If we come back to that spaceman, to cosmonaut, we believe that the cosmonaut will survive if there will be some air cushion. Then this is the hypothesis. Then we'll try to think how we can build that with our materials. Then we will do real situation testing. Then comes the landing, and we will check if the cosmonaut survived or not. That's the result. And then we will evaluate our idea, and certainly we can improve that, and the list, that chain of actions will start again. But let's us depart from that space topic, and let's think of a democratic procedure such as elections. And let's see to look at elections through the eyes of the voters. So first we assess programs of candidates, parties. Then we come up with a hypothesis. We determine what is important for us, and based on that we make our choice. Then comes the real-term testing of a candidate who was elected. We can see to what extent he met those promises that had been made. We come to our conclusions, and the loop is closed. Well, this example shows us that even such a simple experiment helps us to generate habits and civic approaches. That's the skill to critically think, make an analysis, take decisions, assume risks and responsibilities, and bear responsibilities for what we are doing, responsibility before ourselves and others. In simple words, if we ask what is most important for us in experiments, that's the discovery of our skills of thinking free. Besides, there are some side opportunities to develop some skills which we do not always consider. That's the ability to organize your space for work, development of your entrepreneurship, a reasonable usage of materials and resources, and the ability to secure support of others. Those are the skills that are very important in our real life. Here is the process of experiment that is also very important when you are looking for answers to those questions. And students learn how to perform their duties independently, how to concentrate. And while observing all those tasks, they learn some principles, and even if we do not name them with scientific terms, the memory of them will stay for a long time, because teaching and learning are achieved through natural processes, and those theoretical knowledge will be complemented or practical skills will be complemented with theoretical knowledge at other stages. That's the main idea of free experiment. But let us expand the notion of freedom, democracy, and scientific experiment. The mission of the club is to involve youth and their parents to apply their knowledge based on scientific approaches. But what is special about this method? First, it's the process that is important for us, not the result. The result cannot be determined in advance. And this is the experiment, the way we see it. The experiment starts when a demonstration experiment stops, something that we can find in textbooks on any discipline. In many textbooks, experiments are included just to illustrate the phenomenon of a natural law or something else. I am going to read it out because I don't think that everybody can see it. So, for instance, there is a buoyancy force that is determined by a formula, density, gravity constant, acceleration, and some other components. And textbooks normally explain that phenomenon. A body can float only if the buoyancy force is higher than that of gravitation. And it will happen when the medium density of the body, that's the full mass divided by full volume, will be less than the average density of the liquid or fluid. Say there is an egg, we put it into a glass, we pour some of water to it, we add salt, increasing the density and increasing the buoyancy force, and egg is floating. So we have proved that the law works this way. But is that all? Suppose that instead of salt we add sugar. And what if we put that egg not into the water but into some other fluid? And if suppose it is submerged half glass. And what if we break the egg and put ingredients separately? Will the yolk drown or keep afloat? So that's something that is promoted by those experiments, are promoted by the club. So from demonstration we switch to practical learning. Let's move on. The second distinctive feature is that at our sessions and based on the methodology, there is no notion of an error or incorrect result. Instead of that, we speak of verifying various options, various testing methods. So we act exactly as a researcher who never know the outcome of an experiment. And at the start, you may not even determine what phenomenon you are going to research. If you look at the researcher, they do some observation of a bird, wings, and tries to build a flying aircraft. Or the researcher can watches some insect and invents some other mechanisms based on that insect. So then they generate our hypothesis, and after that we either verify that or reject it. And we can see that the egg does not drown when the density of the fluid is changed. Now we have to think of some experiment that will prove that. And don't be afraid to verify those things that seem to be obvious to us. There is a well-known experiment that is shown to many children as some kind of magic. We put water into the glass, cover it with some piece of thick paper, turn the glass upside down, and water is not leaking. If you take another container or a bottle with a small diameter, but if it is a bucket, then it will not work because of the laws of physics. So at one of the sessions in the club, we tried to check it perhaps 30 or 40 times. And we found out that it worked even with the bucket. And it means that something that is accepted on a theoretical basis is only part of the truth. And the next distinctive feature is that the outcome is not the same for all. Experiments, the way we see it, are opportunities to divert from the paved road. You can do some modifications, you can explore various options, and the outcome should lead you to another question, to the next question, so it's a starting point to the next experiment. For teachers, it's not that easy. And teachers commonly ask, is it good? In the textbook, there are specific questions and only one right answer. And our role as teachers, those who work with children, is to give specific knowledge to those children and to show them how world is designed and tell them what truth is. And when I take such questions from teachers, I respond by saying there is no single truth, and there are as many truths as people sitting in the room. And something that we have in our minds as a right answer are not right answers at all, or reflect only part of the reality. And for instance, the fact that it is 1:45 now, it's a truth, but that's a truth for us, for our time framework. And we should really keep that in mind. It's quite necessary to demonstrate it to the children that textbooks contain only pieces of reality, pieces of truth, and the reality is much broader. So try to recall that experiment with an egg, and it shows us only a piece of truth. We add salt and the egg is floating. That's true. But you can use millions of other methods, and you can observe additional phenomena. There is one more principle that we observe. That's the interdisciplinary approach to the topics that we discuss. We try to avoid just a single definition that this falls under the physics, this falls under the chemistry, and you cannot cut the world into pieces and determine everything. So we try to remove those restrictions and perceive the environment as a single universe. And experiments in the club very often lead us from one area then to another area. Perhaps we can start from biology, and then mathematics is also applied. Well, let me tell you about the main work of the club. To become a participant, you need to be willing and eager to learn the outside world better. You should also be eager to exchange knowledge and skills. It's also very important to recognize the roles of science and the role of independent thinking. Those are the key values which, from my perspective, helps to develop personality, both individually and in the context of people's relations with reality. But so far, we've been talking from the standpoint of members of the club, students. But let's see how the principle of democratizing the education process looks like from the standpoint of the club's trustee. And it's not always that it's the teachers of natural sciences who are trustees or guardians. So it's quite common if it is a historian, a teacher of history, foreign language, or some priest, monk or nun. The main requirement for people who would like to become the club's trustee is to have some experience in dealing with youth and children, and the readiness to assume responsibility for safety of all the experiments. Not every adult can be a trustee, because trustees are not paid nothing, so it's all based on your voluntary action. And why do we need those trustees for the club? We try to depart from the notion of teacher, so that to get rid of all those associations that are very strong in schools, because teachers are associated with an opinion that teachers are supposed to provide some formal teaching just to get students prepared for tests. That's the main task of all the teachers. But in the club, you need to entirely give up that approach. So very few teachers and very few adults at all are capable of that. We don't have any system of evaluation in the club. We don't have measurement systems. No results or outputs are given in advance. So the main task of that trustee or a leader, just to create the right environment for the experiment and for search. It's very important not to give the children some hints, clues, half answers. So those trustees or leaders should interfere only in case when the level of enthusiasm drops. So that leader is supposed to encourage students, but that person is not supposed to provide ready-made solutions for the students. And it's not the typical role that teachers normally play, something pertaining to control. And it's not only difficult for a teacher, but otherwise it serves an opportunity to make a confession and say, I don't know. And it helps to develop creativity of those who go to the club. And there in the club they put new questions again and again. And one can see that at some point the knowledge of even a specific expert can be expired, but it's not a problem because if you teach natural sciences, you can really admit that some experiment went beyond your scope of knowledge, and somebody else is to be invited. And it's also the manifestation of democracy at school. The teacher admits that we are all equal, we may not know something, and for that we need to encourage students put questions. Sometimes we have a great temptation to tell him that that I fall in the wrong way and it's better to do so and so, but it should not be done because free experiment means a free choice of its own path. And another this unconventional approach for teachers is quite essential and quite necessary, so that this standard education process is changed. If you have your position, it's hard to do so because, but it's worth it because. Teachers can also be relieved from their formal duties. They don't have to repeat what the curriculum suggests, but you can really go experimenting along with the students and enjoy it. It's fun. So all formalities are minimized. There is no registers, no reports, no accountability. And a club can have a website, and somebody can log in on that website, and all outcomes are posted on the website. But the role of a teacher sometimes goes beyond the ultimate task of creating that good environment for free experimenting. As the club develops, its experiments turn into serious observations and even research projects. So those sessions go beyond the framework of the club, and the club becomes a very important element for a community, for a local community. The club organizes a number of events to be attended by people or other organizations. We have some festivals of a young discoverer, certainly kind. Here on the picture you can see how children show their experiments to their parents. It's kind of the scientific picnic. It's an They stay in the open or live in tent, and they show their experiments to those who came to attend it. As I said earlier, in order to build such a club, a teacher has to make just one step, that is to log in on the website. But where can all those ideas come from, as well as the support? How can we know what principles can be used? Here in the program we have a broad number of courses that helps you to see how the club can be set up and how one can organize the work. Fora of the club are held on an annual basis. During the fora, teachers can exchange the scenarios for classes. They can really take classes together with experts, with researchers, and funds can also be raised in the form of materials or experiments in the box. The Center of Science, named after Copernic, develops sets of tools, subjects covering specific topics. It's the box with a set of materials on energy, other is on biotechnologies. It's very important for a teacher to receive specific materials, so a teacher can take such a box into the school, and the box contains all the stuff for 15, 20 experiments. Besides, there are also scenarios that can be found in the box, and training can also be provided for the best use of the content of such boxes. But again, it's not all. For me, the very important part of support for teachers are ready-made scenarios for experiments that can be downloaded free and that can be used at classes. Some of them have been translated into Russian. About 7 to 8 experiments and materials on those experiments can be available in Russian. So again, there is something which is ready and something which you can purchase for your startup. And experiments are not complex. You don't need a lab or some specialized equipment, since one of the principles of the work of the club is to minimize costs of the club functioning. So everything can be done by using things we keep at home or which you can cheaply buy at a store. And the concept of experiments are quite simple. So you don't need any hints, and it helps you to follow your own way, to introduce modifications of experiments. It's also very important that experiments can be conducted not necessarily in school. You can do it at home. You can show such an experiment to your brothers, sisters, parents. The school environment very often does not have any space for such an approach. There is an exercise and there is an answer, but our task is to depart from that paved track and to remove the horse blinds. So in scenarios we have much more questions than answers. Because if you ask a person an interesting question, then the person will eagerly try to find an answer. And in real life, we don't receive things ready-made from top, and we need to come to arrive at our decisions. So this slide contains a scenario of an experiment. It's just a one-page scenario. And in fact, it's very simple. Well, several times I said that there is a website of the club. If you ask me about the evidence of success, I would say that it's the progress in acquiring new knowledge and the better, stronger belief in our own capabilities. The sense of satisfaction is also an indicator. And we can really think of those tools that can help us to experiment in various areas. And on the other hand, it's also a method to develop and disseminate the approaches to skills development. It's also interesting that based on the project, we drafted proposals to teachers from Eastern Europe. They include master classes, information on the clubs, visits to Poland, participation in scientific open sky picnics, training aids in a box. Put together, it helps us to forget about our routine behavior, and for students, it's an opportunity to become independently thinking citizens. It's all based on emotions, but emotions is an absolutely essential thing for us to get satisfaction. So, in conclusion of the first part of my presentation, I would like to say that my intention was to show to you that civic education, formation of civic values, is possible at every lesson, no matter what subject you teach. They don't have to be in any special area designated for those experiments. You need just those classes help to develop independent thinking, analysis, teamwork, and for that end you can do it at any lesson studying any subject. So first we identify a problem, then there is a search, and then we come to a conclusion. It's possible at every lesson starting from the primary school. For me, as a coordinator, the idea of such naturally interesting classes is to relieve our minds and carry out on very small scale a modernization of minds, so that schools and all people around can feel the impact of schools' activities, so that people should stop being subordinated and start thinking free. And I always keep an association in mind with the novel by Zametin that is called We. I think it's a very important book. And people live very regulated lives and keep on saying one thing. They are not capable of thinking independently. So it seems to me that our effort is aimed at preventing us from such a future when there will be the all happy citizen states and marching under the brass band playing.
Any community at the level of school, town consists of individual personalities. So we have to develop their individual thinking, and that would be the end of my theoretical part. But since we teach creative methods of dealing with students, I would like to offer you something, active. Well, you have the list of interesting things. Let's take the simplest thing. And this is the white piece of paper. You should all have it. So far you need nothing else but a piece of paper. So far we need just a piece of paper. I will be providing you with specific instructions and you would be following them. But don't talk to each other. It is all in silence. No questions. You just do it. And you do it with the closed eyes. You don't ask questions, don't look. You operate in silence. After each exercise, after each instruction, I'll give you time to do it. Are you ready? You all have your pieces of paper. Now, close your eyes. Yeah, bend the paper in two parts. Without saying anything, without asking questions. You tore off the second right corner. Now you tore off the left low corner. Bend it again in half. Tore off the right top corner. Turn the paper 90 degrees to the left. Tear off the left low corner. Bend it in two again. Tore off the left top corner. Now open your eyes. Now we open our paper and see what we got. And you can show it to each other. My question to you. What did you feel when you, made this task? Was it difficult? Was it easy? Was it emotional? Just one word. It was easy. Good. What else? It was funny. All right. It was curious. It was not clear. Now, my question to you. Who got the right result? Yeah, what is right? There can't be wrong result and wrong answer, but it's intricate. At the first stage, we try to see what other people do. This is stronger than our will. Well, grown-ups have, something. We want to do the same as others. It's not the case with children, but grown-ups are like that. They think that there is only one right solution, others are wrong. And it shows that we've been trying to be like everybody else, and we are afraid that if we do it differently and someone else would say that this is wrong. And this exercise shows this role well, and it may be a starting point about talking about the role of a teacher and what the process of education is about and how we take instructions. We all received obvious instructions, but still we have all different results. That's very important to show how differently we conceive the same thing, and that's not bad, that's good. Let us move on, because you also have two more things in your sets. Now it will be more complicated. You have these two cocktail sticks. Take them and put one into another. You should press the end and put one into another. Not too deep, not necessarily. Now I'll show you that you can do something out of nothing. Even if you say that we don't have equipment, we don't have materials, funds, we still can do something with our own efforts and means. So there is one end, we bend it as if you want to drink. The other end, we turn onto the left. That's the kind of structure we get. One to yourself, another one outside. Now leave the second end free. Don't hold it. That's very good. We have windmills. Do your best to do it. That's the beginning of an experiment. To show you what is air, what is a stream of air, how the windmill works, and a couple of more mechanisms. Based on this principle, that is not all. Suppose we'll take 3 sticks, and what about turning it in the opposite direction? That's not the end, that's only the beginning. To move on. But again, we are not going to throw these sticks away. Let's take one. Now we need scissors. There are several of them. The task is to cut the end of the stick by scissors so that it becomes sharp. We take one, we separate them now. Any end should become sharp. So we cut it with scissors so that it becomes sharp. pass scissors to each other. Only one should become sharp. Like a feather. Then you have to press it with your fingers so that it becomes flat. Now you press it. It should not be as wide as other part of the pipe. Now we'll try to make an orchestra. We play a music instrument which we have just created. You have 1 minute to try. А?
Тебе тоже надо потренироваться.
Это я умею. All right, we proceed. A minute of your attention. We are going to hold a concert now, but before that, we can speak about what is air, what is stream of air, what is sonic wave. Sound has another parameter yet, the pitch. Let us see how we make voices of different pitch. If you have scissors now, you blow into your instrument and you cut it piece by piece, by lengths, and you check what happens. Yes, you cut it at the same time. Yes, well, actually I used the microphone, that's why it was so loud. Why do I show it to you? Well, you say that this is a good trick. Suppose we take 3 sticks, 3 straws. What would be how the size of the cut material is connected with the pitch of the sound? So far, everybody is relaxed, everybody is happy. but you can show some physical notions and the way musical instruments are built. And this is not just a trick or a joke, yeah, good for children only. We can develop any experiment to a very serious scopes. Sometimes we get unusual results. In your set we have balloons. Well, below the balloons should look like this. And you have to tie them strongly. You are all ready? What can you say about the balloon? What kind of a balloon it is? It's what's inside air. What can you do about it? Some electrostatic things can surface. So what will happen then? It glues. What happens with your hair? If you take 5 balloons like this, what will happen to them if you put them under water? Well, I see that all of you make fun already. I have a proposal for the bravest ones. Well, it's very easy to explode him. You take something sharp and it gets exploded. But let us talk about features of things with the help of this balloon, and about how mass influences different subjects. Sit down on your balloon and raise your legs. You should not be afraid. I will do it myself as well. You should not be afraid of anything.
Это следующий вопрос. Можно попробовать прыгнуть, конечно.
Of course, you can jump on it.
Сидящих в наших наблюдениях. У вас есть, конечно, вот эти палочки для шашлыка. Можно попробовать его проколоть.
You may punch it
Можно проколоть и
with your
посмотреть,
sticks,
посмотрите, что
and then you may sit on it and you will see what will happen.
Давайте вернемся на свои места.
Then, now please get back
Я вам оставляю
to your
для того,
seats.
чтобы вы использовали вот эту вашу энергию и желание проводить эксперименты.
So I want you to use your energy to hold experiments after the lessons.
Это возможно, чтобы его проколоть так, чтобы он не лопнул.
It is possible to punch it and it will remain the whole.
И идти дальше в наших наблюдениях. Но почему я вам показываю снова вот что-то смешное? Для меня вот это упражнение с шариком.
This is an exercise with the balloon. This is the metaphor of the whole project. It's a very interesting.
Это лучше всего показывает принцип методики клуба молодого открывателя. Для меня вот именно работать в клубе.
I like to work in a club. For me, it is just the same as I sit on a balloon and I raise my legs. We do something new, something which may seem impossible from the very beginning, or funny and foolish.
Но для этого необходима смелость, необходима уверенность в себе и желание сделать что-то необыкновенное, что-то совсем новое.
But you want to do something new, something unusual, something out of the ordinary, and that's how I conceive the work in clubs, to make experiments. It's a great pleasure.
Я хотела бы оставить еще место на наш разговор, на вопросы.
But we still need some room for questions. So thank you for your practical part, and I can answer your questions now. Thank you very much. Вадим Коростелев.
Предложение, скажем так, в русском языке, скорее всего, слово не очень удачное.
The word custodian is not very good in Russian, but we train tutors. Tutor probably is a better word.
Каким образом вы учите
Now, how you
учителей и детей? Задавание
teach
вопросов на
teachers an art of asking such questions?
каждый человек
Can
научиться этому.
everybody learn it? I mean, every teacher. And how this process goes on, because it's clear as far as children are concerned, but what about grown-ups? I agree, it's very interesting and it's different between grown-ups and children. As to teaching teachers on how to raise questions, we begin with the same way as we start with children, like we did now. We make simple experiments, and it doesn't matter whether we do something serious or just simple balloon experiment. This is just a lively approach to what encircles us. I may raise 20 questions about the balloon experiment and move into any direction. And the same can happen in case of something serious.
Я бы рискнула сказать, что все способны
Anyone can learn to ask questions, but not everybody is ready to open for it. A small addition. Many people say, I don't have power, I don't have money, I have nothing, I'm a small person. And you can say to such people, you have at least three things. You have a dream, you have a desire, and you have your voice, through which you may implement your dreams and desires. Thank you very much for your lesson. Thank you. It's very interesting. I deal with something like that myself. Even in the penitentiary institutions, and these guys are interested. I want to know how you raise parents, how you raise parents for such lessons. I know that children wait for you with these ideas, but what about parents? At a certain time, we tried to introduce parents into this project. We invited them from the very beginning, or at the very beginning, to help us in our lessons on the basis of their professional activity. Like, for instance, someone worked as an engineer or a lawyer. So we asked them to somehow prepare a script of brief lessons with the children. This constitutes the first step for them to feel certain responsibility. You can't do it with every parent. Some of them are disinterested. So you shouldn't make everybody do it, but we found several parents who are the club custodians. So it's not always teachers.
But sometimes it's even the parents who lead those clubs. Most commonly it's not just one, but two or three. They all come to school once a month and hold a session. I think it's quite successful in this sense, since it makes it possible to have parents involved in the process of education. Parents also help to organize those events that I briefly described. They capitalize on their own experience deriving from their professions. I'm Daria Saravleva from Volgograd. I wonder if it is possible, and if yes, in what way can we participate in those master classes? Yes, you can, and we hold master classes in Poland, or we can send trainers to different countries, to various cities, wherever we have partners and wherever there is a willingness and where those from 10 to 20 peoples will be available and willing to participate. We don't think that more than 20 is a good number, because it's hard to work with big groups. So those trainers may come, and for a day or two they can hold some training sessions about those clubs. And after that, we can get in touch through the forum and on the website, and there is all the information. So you can be invited to follow up. It's the receiving party who has to finance the event. If you can find a room and invite a sufficient number of people, then trainers can come at their own expense. Thank you very much for that master class. I think we all enjoyed and liked it. And can you tell us if it is possible, and I value your opinion, so is it possible to apply that methodology as something of free experimenting at a class? I can think that it can fit into the motivation and illustration phase, and as with role-play technologies, is there any danger that children can always come before class and ask if they are going to play? So if, when the format is a priority, not the content, and if there is such a risk, how do you manage to mitigate it? I can tell you that there are some teachers who use some elements of the methodology at their classes, and they can be used for various purposes, for motivation, for concentration on some idea, or it can be included into the class work as an experiment, expanding the boundaries of a textbook. In this case, textbooks cease to be the illustration of an event, and they will complement to the lesson. And it's very useful if children do it with their own hands, if safety is ensured. So teacher can do it together with children, but not instead of them. So you can really apply that method at a class. It's probably not necessary to open a club immediately and have out-of-class activities. There are methodologies. There are 3 publications on that were translated into Russian, how to capitalize on the methodology. And they have some experiments, examples, and all the necessary materials. We have 3 more minutes, so if you have a question, you can ask it. I'm Evgenia Khramov from Tatarstan. I know that there is a movement in Germany that stands for promoting science. It's called Science Land. And have you heard of that? And does this movement operate in Poland? And do you cooperate with that movement if there is such a movement in Poland? In fact, in Poland, we do not collaborate with that German movement, but within the framework of the project, we try to do our best to invite researchers and scientists. For instance, in Georgia a year ago, we had a selection process to pick young scientists and researchers for classwork, and we wanted to do that in order to open doors of closed labs in research institutes where people do no one knows what. So we try to encourage those researchers come to schools and show some experiments to children. It was very interesting. They were telling children about earthquakes, volcano eruptions, and it's quite interesting. It's the area which we are exploring. So it will be another support for teachers, and that's a group of people who can give some additional knowledge and give some additional impetus. And so that those people could come to school and share their professional knowledge with children. Thank you very much for all your questions. First of all, Magdalena, I would like to thank you for bringing us back to our childhood. And thank you very much for that experiment. And I think it differs from the rest of the program, but at the same time, it fits quite well into the program, since we really listen to what our participants say about our workshops and programs. So last year, Irina Fedorovna Gropola kept on emphasizing the fact that we didn't have to confine ourselves to history or social sciences. We need to explore some other subjects, and we wanted to demonstrate how that potential can be explored. I think Magda coped with that task very well. And the second point, you had this session with Dima Zitzer, and there will be one more session ahead. And the reaction is the same. It's the breaking of stereotypes, and looks like interesting and gives you a chance to think it over. And but the question arises: what's the use and how applicable it is? How that experience can be used. And Magdalena showed us that if you think hard, you can use those practices for children. So thank you very much, Magdalena, once again.
У меня есть в бумажном варианте, правда, только пару экземпляров, но если кого-то это заинтересовалось, могу вот оставить путеводителя опекуна клуба и несколько экземпляров книжки про Центр науки Коперник, чтобы понять, что это такое.
Можно?